Persecutor, challenger. Ted placed his stick just below the CR and drew a diagonal line that ended just to the left of the V. He wrote P at the top and CH at the bottom. He said, "This is one of the most powerful shifts of all, from persecutor to challenger. Most persecutors show up in your life as deconstructive challengers. You'd rather avoid them. But when you're able to shift your view of persecuting people, conditions, or circumstances, the strangest thing happens. Their actions have an entirely different impact on you, the empowering impact of the challenger." Discovering this opens up a whole new world of possibility. You may wake up to a greater understanding of your anger, for one thing. Anger is one of the most powerful and feared of human emotions. In the DDT, anger correlates with fear. It's the central emotion of the persecutor. With Ted, though, anger can be a powerful motivating force. Used constructively, it helps you to move toward whatever you're passionate about. "I'm not sure what you mean," I said. "Behind every experience of anger lies something you care about. Otherwise, you wouldn't feel the anger," explained Ted. Many great contributions arose as empowered responses to anger. Gandhi, for example, felt anger about the injustice of British rule over India. It fueled his determination to lead a peaceful resistance movement that led India's people to win their independence. Another possibility presented by the empowerment dynamic is forgiveness. You cannot make the shift from persecutor to challenger without some measure of forgiveness of both yourself and others. Someone once said that forgiveness is giving up the hope of ever having a better past. There's nothing you can do to change the past, but you can choose how you think about what has already happened in your life. You then apply the learning from that experience to the process of creating what you care about. Anger and forgiveness were so important in my learning from and letting go of my relationship with Dan, Sophia said. At one point, I came across a quote from the writer and philosopher Henry Nouwen, who said, "Forgiveness changes the way we remember. It converts the curse into a blessing." Once I surrendered to the fact that I could not change what had already happened between Dan and me, I was able to redirect my energy to focus on what I wanted to create in my life. Now, I can honestly say I'm grateful for our divorce, painful as it was, because of what I've learned and overcome by dealing with it. When problems and obstacles arise, and they always do, they're part of the creating process, said Ted. Welcome them as teachers that are challenging you to grow. In this way, you transform your situation into an opportunity for action, or at least for learning, and the gift of the challenger is yours. The pain received from the persecutor then magically becomes the bittersweet fruit of deepening knowledge, of learning from your experience. I thought about how anger and forgiveness had been darting around inside me in various ways in response to Dad's passing, the infertility, and the divorce. It felt like sifting through the rubble of what seemed to be the ruins of my life. "So how do I begin to do that?" I asked. "There's an exercise you can use," Sophia offered. "First, make a list of the people, conditions, or circumstances you have thought of as persecutors. For each one of them, list at least 7 ways they have been a gift or a teacher to you. How have they challenged you to learn and grow?" I groaned. "With some things, that's easier said than done." "Maybe so," Sophia said, "but I think you'll be surprised at what you uncover. The trick is to keep asking yourself questions. What is the lesson this person or situation is bringing into my life? How and what can I learn from this? What's the gift hidden in this situation, no matter how difficult it appears?" Once you've written down the challenger's lessons and gifts, spend some time going a little deeper. I suggest journaling at this point. As things become clearer, ask yourself more questions. What insights have I gained from this experience? Is this lesson complete for now? If it is, am I fully ready to forgive, let go, and move forward in my life? By making this list and asking these questions, you can transform all your persecutors into challengers. David, said Ted, there's another aspect of making the shift from persecutor to challenger that can be even trickier than what Sophia is describing. What could be trickier than that? I blurted. What we've been talking about so far is the intrapersonal shift, how you can choose to respond to a persecutor in your life. The trickier shift is the interpersonal one, when you find yourself in a role of persecutor or if someone perceives you as one. Shifting yourself from persecutor to challenger takes tremendous conscious focus and effort and no small measure of humility. You can often tell if someone is perceiving you as a persecutor by the way he reacts to what you say or do. If he starts getting defensive, that's a clue that you are showing up for him in the persecutor role. I thought back to my experience with my ex-wife as our marriage was crumbling. There were so many times when she reacted defensively to what I said or did. There could be no doubt that I had repeatedly fallen into the persecutor role. Ted continued, when you notice how the other person is reacting to you, the first thing to do is to clarify your intention. What are you really doing? If your intention is to look good, to be right, to be one up, or to instill fear, then you must stop in your tracks. Gather yourself and apologize for your actions or words. Then, the hardest part is to let go of the whole thing. On the other hand, if you are clear that your intention is to challenge the other person, to learn, or to develop his capacity as a creator, the best thing to do is to ask for a do-over. Begin by acknowledging that your behavior did not come across as you intended and apologize. This communication closes the gap between your intention and the negative impact of your previous approach. When you're making the interpersonal shift from persecutor to challenger, it's important to acknowledge the other person's worth, his power, and his responsibility for making his own choices and decisions. Then you can invite him to consider your point of view. The challenge is to adopt a take-it-or-leave-it stance about whatever you share or suggest. The decision to take your advice is his to make. Everyone creates his or her own life experience and has a set of personal lessons to learn. The choice people make will create the outcomes they reap. I call it the Challenger Challenge, Sophia said, because it is the most difficult TED role to master. Becoming a conscious and constructive challenger takes a lot of time to develop. Sophia then took a step toward me. David, if your former wife were standing here with us, what could you say to her to make the shift from persecutor to challenger? A flock of pelicans soared along the edge of the bluff and down the beach. As I thought about what I might say, I felt my heart loosen, and with that a flood of tears. I choked out a few words. I'd say I was sorry for the way I blamed and verbally attacked her. I'd tell her I know she was going through a difficult time too, and I'd want her to know that I believe she was doing the best she could in her own way. Excellent, Sophia said. Now, what would you say your intention was? Strange, I said. My intention was to connect with her, to bridge the distance between us, but the things I did actually drove us further apart. I'd tell her that. I'd tell her how I wanted to learn and grow through this process, even though it's painful, and that I want to keep communicating wherever it leads us. Then I'd ask if she was willing to talk it over. Good start, Sophia said. What would you do if she said no to talking? Well, instead of feeling rejected and reacting as a victim, I'd like to believe that if I was really speaking in the framework of TED, I'd accept that as her choice. I'd just leave her with an open invitation to talk when and if she was ready. And that, my dear, is the way of a creator, Sophia grinned. And while it may be easier said than done, that's the way it is said, and that's the way it is done. It is possible. Ted, who had been listening attentively, now chimed in. I must say, it's fun to see you two working together. Keep in mind, too, that a creator is capable of consciously assuming either the role of challenger or the role of coach.